Okay, I hope everybody is ready. Feel free to keep chatting in the chat, by the way, about anything. It's fine. You don't have to chat about the episode. But I will only be talking about the episode while the episode is playing, just to keep it on topic for the stream itself. All right, we're going to start in 5. Starting now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, hey. It's Tallulah. Now, if she doesn't burn everything to the ground in this episode, I'll be very disappointed. Time to bully. We fought Crown Slayer in... There was a desert map where we fought her. And I remember I beat her with my level 1 team. So Crown Slayer, you better not be talking shit. My level 1 team kicked your ass. Is that what's going to happen in this episode? A random team of level 1s just kick Crown Slayer's ass. I would love that. So as far as I can tell from the intro, like every character that's featured in the intro, we've seen all of them. There's no one else to introduce, is there? Neutral term is they. Like if you're talking about a person and you don't know who it is, you say they in English or them. Like go talk to the shopkeeper and ask them for batteries. Like it works singular or plural. It's Chen, leader of the bully squad. Time to bully some sick people. Crippled children, get out of here. Dying mothers, go home. Old grandpa, eat dirt. Icks up. That's one of her lines. I think that's when you choose to start battle. She says that line. She said the line! Still don't like the doctor's voice. Still don't like it. Whoop. Accidentally opened a new tab. Why are we still here talking about this? I thought they would have moved on to some moment of action. I do like Exia's personality, like the way they've portrayed her, but they need to get her to do something. She's done nothing. It's become a post-apocalyptic slice of life. Very true. There are tons of infected people. I don't know why we're focusing on this one. Oh, okay. She's actually important, apparently. Are they pulling a Last of Us Ellie on us? Dragon Lady. Angry Dragon Lady would have been more accurate. I don't know why, of all things, they chose to focus on Misha. It's so dull. Ka-chow. At a certain point, I did start skipping. Finally, something's happening. Okay, W. Wreck 'em. I like how they still have to keep one Kevin alive just to have faceless NPC. That's right. The one who can't jump. Why are you running forward? You literally have two massive guns. Just stand back and fire. Where's the water gun? W sounds so smug in every line. In Japanese, do they pronounce it skull shredder? Usagi-chan, that's protagonist of Sailor Moon as well. Okay. Please don't end the action there with another slow scene. Yeah, see, this just feels like a repeat with like one extra sentence of what we already know. I swear it's like the fourth time Ami has told that to Chen. You're absolutely right. It should happen. It should happen in like one sentence in the middle of a fight. Like when you're going to have conversations like this, because they're not very interesting conversations. What you do is you get them under attack. They get pushed into the same location, and then they team up, and then just say one line talking about how they need to fight together. That's it. What you have here is the equivalent. If you're talking like modern day drama, the equivalent of this would be two people sitting down talking in a cafe, which is a terrible. It's a very dull scene. And your high school anime will do it, you know, like out the back of the school or on the school roof, just two people sitting there talking, and there's nothing really going on, and they're not saying anything particularly interesting. And generally, what you do, if you have to have what is you would consider a boring conversation, but it's necessary, you know, in this case, getting two groups to ally together, you have a bit of action. Now, action doesn't mean guns and explosions. It could be just doing something while they're talking about whatever situation they're in. So it could be under attack. It could be, I don't know, if it's a sports show, it could be while they're doing the sport, whatever. But yeah, with this, they're just talking, and it's just boring stuff. And even within this, that scene took several minutes. I don't know why it had to take so long. With the Chen Horns thing, that kind of thing happens for a lot of things in anime. Like elf ears, no matter which angle you look at someone from, they always point outwards. But when you look at them sideways, it's still the same amount of ear being shown. It doesn't point towards the camera if you're looking side on. Anime cannot do elf ears properly. Sniper Armia. When? When do we get Sniper Armia? Hello, hello, welcome. Was Hoshi dealing with Tallulah? Wait, she was dealing with W? Hang on, W was dealing with Chen. Wait, what? You sure W was where Hoshi was? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I thought it was Tallulah, standing on top of the building. I did not see W and Hoshi together at all. Oh man. After, we're going to pause right there, and I want to read what the text message says. There's something from Exia. Yeah, no emojis from Exia? Doesn't make any sense. Okay, so that's the episode. Let me quickly get a screenshot of that text message. Okay. All right. Unmute that. Go back to that. Let's put on some background music. Let me see. It's a bit too grim. Okay. Right, what does this say? It says the LGD custody, or was it convoy? But it looks like DY at the end. CUSTODY. The LGD custody was attacked by a group of reunion something a while ago, and Misha was taken away. The direction of which they may have escaped is yet to be determined, but we will be boarding, we'll be searching the town area, something like that. Reunion activists, yes, I think you're right. And then over here for Amio says, we also need your help searching for Misha. Something you one more... Something with the something local geography of Lungmen. And then Exia says, got it. to you. Talk to you later. Got it? Talk to you later, smiley face. Not as interesting as I would have hoped. Yeah, they should have put an actual emoji over there. But what's that image? What is Exia's profile picture? Is it meant to be an apple that's been bitten into? Apple on a plate. Yeah, it totally looks like an apple that's been bitten into. Oh no, hang on, no. This is a hand, and this is a slice of apple pie. I see. Just with a red background. So it's like that. Like that. But instead of the phone, it's an apple pie. I don't know what this green thing is over here, though. It's obviously meant to be a cartoon illustration. The background is her hair. It's the wrong color of her hair, and I don't get what the green is. Okay. Let's have a quick discussion about the episode, and then we'll get to Path to Nowhere. Let me just update the title. All right. You see Tex's profile picture in the early episodes. Yes, that's true, actually, because there was messages. Where's my water? So, the episode... yeah, it was mostly nothing. It was better than the last one, mainly because there's a bit more action. Which was nice to see. However, even within the action, I feel like they once again undersold it. Because what they should have done was they could have made it a bit more... I don't know, the action feels... It doesn't feel like it's an this show has action between people with superpowers. It just feels like a bunch of people with guns and swords. That's it. And W has grenades. It doesn't feel like there's much supernatural going on, which... At the very least, the earlier episode, the one that had that introduced Nerl, you know, and you had Crown Slayer with the smoke screen, or at least there you had like a little something, and you know Tallulah with the big, you know, the big firestorm early on. That was a little something, but and with Amiya, all you do is just see her occasionally shoot this like little energy ball. That's it. It doesn't have the action just doesn't have presence. When you think of like, just think of like Jujutsu Kaisen, Naruto, Bleach, whatever, right? Whenever you watch those action scenes, it feels like action that could only be possible with these like supernatural characters, right? But with this, apart from like Amiya's occasional attack, you could just replace it. You could just say this is a world with just regular humans with military equipment. That's it. So it's like there's just not much going on. It just doesn't feel. They don't make the action exciting at all. And yeah, the Doctor, apart from that one time the Doctor did something, Doctor feels completely useless. They do. Every time an action scene starts, they do say, oh, Amiya does like tell the Doctor to guide them. So I think it's implied that the Doctor is actually telling them what to do. Like when you know, how they fight, their formations and all that, the strategy they use. I think it's implied that the Doctor's the one doing that. However, even if that's true, right? Let's just take them at their word for it, that the Doctor is the one, you know, directing the battles. Even if that is true, it is the least interesting battle strategies you've ever seen. All you need to do to watch how to do this properly is you just go watch Code Geass, right? When Lelouch directs forces that aren't even on his side, when he directs forces that aren't even on his side, you can tell there's like somebody with a strategy going on. And the strategy is part of the action. Like, it's what makes the action interesting in that show. And in this, it's like, there's no strategy. It's just, it's always just two groups running at each other. Like, when there was Skull Shatterer versus Armia and company, they just ran at each other, and then it cuts to a few scattered pairs fighting off, and then Skull Shatterer just leaves. And so it's like, that's it. Like, that's your great master plan. The Doctor's meant to be this master tactician, right? At least the Doctor's meant to represent me, okay? It's a strategy game. We're meant to be like, he's meant to be this like master strategist, and we've had no interesting strategy whatsoever. Not a single moment of interesting strategy. Not even that first one where they showed us the Doctor playing Arknights on his phone. Yeah, and there's way too much off-screen stuff as well. And even the W fight, right? Even the W fight, that was like, okay, they give us a little bit, but that should be like the bare minimum. The W fight was the best action moment that we've had, and it was the bare minimum. And it was only the bare minimum, sorry, and even as the bare minimum, it still wasn't very supernatural. So it's like whatever. It's just, I don't understand, because this studio has not managed to do good action. They've not managed to do good dialogue. They've not managed to do good character development. They haven't managed in a story sense. If you ignore the visuals and the audio, both of which are great, much better than 95% of anime out there. Apart from the audio-visual components, there is not a single strength to this studio. And no, they do not deserve to have any slack cut to them at all. Plenty of new studios have done far better than this. Far, far better than this. Like, this is below the bare minimum for a new studio for the quality of writing. It's absolutely just woefully inadequate. And cutting them some slack is just asking them to make more garbage like this. I don't understand how they don't just look at the trailers that they made for the game and go, why don't we just do full scenes of these moments like that? Or we'll take those events and we'll translate them to this. Oh, in the trailer for A Walk in the Dust, we had this like really threatening moment with the Emperor's Blade. Why don't we do a scene like that with Tallulah? You know, like, why wasn't the Tallulah's appearance in this episode? Why didn't it have that, evoke that same atmosphere and that same level of tension that you get from those 2 seconds of the Emperor's Blade in the Walk in the Dust trailer? Instead, it's Tallulah standing in the desert in the middle of nowhere, and then Tallulah standing on top of a building. And that's it. Like, there's no... they couldn't even get basic tension right. Like, I just don't understand. Let me see if I can find the animation for it. Okay. think it's this one. Okay, let's lock that there.
少年は踏むアークナイツ復刻偉人の道を我らの交友はここに長き
Just that, those two shots right there is more is got more tension. Like this promises way more tension. You just need to watch these two bits right here. This, that. You see that? Like imagine if the preview for this episode that we just watched, in the preview at the end of the, like that they showed in the you know, in the preview for episode 6, you saw that, but it was like Chen Tallulah, right? You'd be like, oh man, that's going to be an awesome fight. So all they would need to do is go, okay, let's just take the idea that we had for this, right? Because when you do a trailer like this, they don't just think of what you see. They think that what they do is they imagine what the whole scene would look like, and they go, okay, how can we convey the emotion, the feel, the tone of that scene in a second, right? That's how you come up. You got to do more work behind the scenes, and then you boil it down to the best bits. That's how you do anything. Even when you write a really big story, the amount of work behind the scenes of the story is 10 times bigger than the final story that you actually see. So when they would have planned this, they would have thought, okay, let's read the actual Walk in the Dust story. What moments happen? What do we want to show? How are we going to convey it? And they imagine what this whole scene would look like, and they think of, how can we bring this down to 2 shots? And you've got this plus this, right? And that conveys a lot. And so if we had just seen Tallulah like that, Chen like that, it would promise a really cool action episode. And then all they'd have to do is just expand on that. And they couldn't even do the most basic thing like that. So, like whatever. Like whatever characters they want to use, whatever scene they want to play, their basic trailers have more effort in them than anything we've seen so far for any scene in this show. The only scene that's been even like a hint of like actual quality is the first Tallulah scene. But even that ends in the most pathetic way possible, and very anticlimactic. I just don't understand how they do such a poor job of just conveying anything. Even a shot like this, right? You see a shot like that, and if you know that Passenger's a good guy, and you see a city burning, the promise is like tension, an intense story, big drama. You could slice a trailer for the Arknights Anime, and I don't think you could get anything out of it except for that one Tallulah scene that promises any tension whatsoever. Yeah, it just feels like the people who are in charge of the story, which are probably the same people who are in charge of the action, have no idea how to do any of it. Everything that they do is just, it's so lifeless and empty. There's no life in any aspect of this show. It's not, I would say maybe like Exia. Exia is the one thing with Exia and W are the only 2 characters where it's like, okay, there's a bit of life to the characters. They've got some energy, they've got some emotion, but there's no, the dialogue has got no energy to it. The action has no energy to it. When they're like supposed to be running for their lives, being hunted down, they're just standing around talking. Army is doing cutesy things. It's just like, pfft. Yes, the dot hack anime. Oh my god. If you want to see another professionally made anime with the same problems as Arknights, except the dot hack anime doesn't even have the advantage of good visuals. However, it does also have a great soundtrack. One of the best soundtracks in anime. I would contend, for the dot hack anime. You watch the dot hack anime, the very first one, the precursor to Sword Art Online. Very interesting premise. Kid gets stuck in an MMO and is like, becomes basically the god of this MMO world. Very interesting premise. And groups of players are trying to figure out what's going on, and they're seeing this person. He's got like this special pet that nobody else has access to. It's like this god mode pet. And you're thinking, wow, that sounds really interesting. And plus it's an MMO. Surely it'd be great. You know, it's got the full, it's a Ragnarok Online style MMO. If you're thinking of what kind of a MMO is it modeled off of. It's the Ragnarok Online type. And so you think, oh, it should be really interesting. It isn't. It isn't. It is so slow. So many scenes of people just sitting around talking. The action scenes have nothing to them. The scenes that are supposed to be tense have no tension to them. The animation is just characters sliding across screens. It's terrible. But Foss, you're absolutely right. I don't know how I did not think of this before. You're absolutely right. The anime that is most like Arknights is dot hack. It is dot hack. Absolutely right. It's just, and again, I tell you, it doesn't matter which part of the story they decided to adapt. It doesn't, none of that is relevant to the final quality, because competent writers would have been able to take any bit of the story, even made up a new one, doesn't matter. A good writer would have made it interesting. You could take this material that we've had so far and you give it to Studio Trigger, for instance. They could turn it into something where people would go, this is one of the best anime of the season. I promise you that. I promise you a more competent team could have done that. It's just that they got people to write it who don't feel like writers. It doesn't even feel like they got the writers of the game to write this show. It feels like they got as I said before, the accounting department. The accounting department are the writers for this show. Studio Trigger did Cyberpunk most recently, which was a 10 out of 10 show. They've done Gurren Lagann. They've done a whole bunch of shows, very stylized shows. Darling in the Franxx was from Trigger, yeah. And Darling in the Franxx is probably the worst show that Trigger has done. And it's still okay. Kill la Kill, very fun. Yeah, Gurren Lagann was technically Gainax, but it was the Studio Trigger team. And you can very much tell because Studio Trigger does everything in the style of Gurren Lagann. Kill la Kill is a fun show. It's not great, but it's fun. It's got energy. It's got motion. It's got character, which is something that Arknights lacks. Yeah, the Arknights falls into that worst category of all fiction. And that is boring. Absolutely boring. Oh, the Genshin... I would be astonished if the Genshin anime wasn't worse than this. Because the Genshin trailer... Okay. The Genshin trailer promises an anime of worse than this quality. Oh, man. But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, the Arknights anime, they just need a better writing team. Because the visual team, the audio team, they're doing a good job. You don't need to find another studio. You just need to change like 2-3 people at the top who are the storyboard, you know, the action director, and the writer. That's it. Just change a few people. That's it. And you're all good. I'll probably watch the... We can do a watch along for the Genshin anime. Why not? Hopefully before the Genshin anime comes out. Actually, when is the Genshin anime happening? Is it realistic for me to finish Genshin before it comes out? Ufotable has made absolute garbage. Yeah, don't be fooled just because they had a couple of shows with, you know, high production value. They have done a ton of garbage. If it comes out next year, I might have a shot at finishing Genshin before then. But yeah, UFO Table, what they've done, what they often do, is they will put all of their resources into whatever's most popular, which is basically Fate. And then everything else gets neglected, gets no budget whatsoever. They put no budget to everything else. You wonder why unlimited budget works has like so much animation quality effects, etc. It's because every other show that they had at that time was neglected. Did Upo Table do Demon Slayer? I have not seen Demon Slayer yet. On my list. Okay. I've seen a few clips from Demon Slayer, and the animation, like the production quality is very good from that. So obviously they would have put the budget towards there. But if I remember correctly, one of the same seasons where Demon Slayer was airing, UFO Table had another anime that people couldn't believe was from the same studio, because it's like polar opposite in quality. Yeah, so they've got the visual talent, they've got the audio talent, they just need a couple of good writers at the top. Do not underestimate how big of a difference just getting a couple of different people would make to the show. It could, honestly, it could 180 it. It could go from what we're seeing now to a 9 or a 10 out of 10 show. With just a change of just 2 people. 1 person for action, 1 person for story. That's it. Rory Papa, thank you for the raid. Welcome, raiders. Welcome, welcome. You join us right in the middle of Arknights Anime discussion. Right before we go to Path to Nowhere. I think there is a higher chance than normal for there to be a season 2 for Arknights, because it comes from their own studio. It's not being done by another studio, right? So it's like Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, right? Rings of Power, garbage show. Ratings, it way under-delivered on the ratings as well. Because, let's be real, the amount of money that a show makes is a lot more important than the critical reception. Because you've got plenty of bad shows that go for 10 seasons, right? Even if every season it's given a 2 out of 10 on average by the critics. But Rings of Power was given poor ratings both critically and in terms of audience numbers. They were hugely disappointed by those. However, it's being bankrolled by Amazon, by their own studio, and they already put in $250 million setting up the show. They're not going to back out now. So I think Arknights is likely to have a second season, but I feel like if this quality stays, it's not going to get to the end of the main story. It might get a few seasons, but I don't see them being able to sustain it, because if this quality remains, the audience is just going to keep dropping with every season. Yeah. So with anime, unfortunately, the reality is that with anime, most anime only get 1 season. Even good anime only get 1 season. And quite often, what they'll do... Let me give you some insights into the anime industry. So this is how the anime industry works, for what gets an adaptation, how many seasons does it get, etc, etc. Manga comes out, gets popular. Manga is popular for a few years, generally, right? It's usually, you gotta go for a few years so that it gets like established, gets some legs. And also it means that when an adaptation happens, if they're gonna do multiple seasons, they're not gonna run out of content, right? You don't want a Full Metal, even though the first Full Metal Alchemist anime was good, you don't want that situation where you got a hugely popular series and the manga's actually only halfway through, and so then you have to make up the ending, right? You don't want a situation like that. So, generally what they'll do is they'll wait a little bit so that, you know, they've got some material to work with, and it's proven that it's not just a flash in the pan. Like, people are really hyped on the first year of the manga, and then it drops off, right? Because the same thing happens with TV shows as it does with manga. People can be hyped on release and then no interest after a year. So they'll wait a little bit and then they'll adapt something. Now, imagine you are anime studio. You are the anime studio, and you're like, okay, we've got a budget to make 10 shows this season, right? Now, 10 is a lot, so I'm obviously exaggerating on how many shows a studio can do. But for the sake of this simplicity, we're going to do, say there's 10 shows at once, right? And we're going to go, okay, we've got our 2 big established shows, our 2, our long-running shonen and our long-running shoujo. We're going to do the next season of those 2, right? And those generally will bring in a fair amount of money that can usually bankroll the rest of our shows, right? Let's say you do My Hero Academia. That is so popular that the money that brings in allows you to make other shows as well. And so with the other 8, let's say you're going for 8 completely new series, right? There's no sequels. So you'll look at what manga is available, you'll try get the rights, you'll talk to the publishers, you'll talk to the author, right? Because getting the author's permission is not mandatory, but because of the culture of respect towards manga authors in Japan, if you get the rights to adapt a manga, but the author comes out and says that I did not authorize this, that can sink the show. That can absolutely sink the show because it will be like really bad publicity. Whereas like in Hollywood, the author of a book being adapted to a film that they don't like, he can trash it all he wants. It probably won't affect the success of the film. Quite famously, the author of The Prestige thinks the Prestige movie sucks. The Prestige movie is one of the greatest films of all time, right? Had no effect on the success of that film. That is generally how it's approached. Now, you make those 8 shows, they release, they come out. You might have, amongst those 8, you're lucky if 1 or 2 take off, like really take off. Now, for the ones that you're going to make a sequel for next season, needs to be really big. And when I say big, I don't mean like fairly big, I mean big. It is very, very rare for an anime to get a sequel season because it is generally better for a studio to try their hand at a whole new... Basically, since we play gacha games here, we're going to use gacha terms. It is better to re-roll the account than to hope to get good luck on your next 10 pulls. It is better to re-roll the account than to hope to get good luck on your next 10 pulls. Because if I re-roll, then I've got the starter banner again. And I might get the better unit on the starter banner. That's how it is, right? Because if they've got those 2 long-running shows that they do every season, and then they've got 8 spare slots, it is better to go, okay, there's these 8 manga that are quite successful, that have an already established audience. Let's adapt those 8 and see if one of those really takes off. If none of them take off, like, you could make money, but it doesn't take off big, it could be better to abandon that one and try a new one that might take off even bigger. Which is why a show doesn't just have to make profit, it has to make a lot of profit. Because it's taking up slots, it's taking up talent, it's taking up time. So you have to have something that's really successful, which is why lots of shows that are really good and that, you know, people love don't get another season because it's just not financially successful enough. And quite often the justification is from the anime/manga industry is let's just direct them towards the manga, right? Because there's always that backup. There's always that backup. You can go, well, we only did 1 season, which is the first 5 volumes of the manga, and there's 30 volumes, but you can just go read the manga. That happens a lot. A lot. You see that so often where it's the season of the anime is just an ad to get you into the manga, especially if the manga's ongoing. You'll notice that happens a ton.